So this is one local salsa whose spicy but not really roots go back to salsa's homeland, Mexico, our southern neighbor. Can we borrow a cup of salsa? No.
They're like, please go away.
We don't want
We're traumatized enough. Please don't knock on our door anymore.
Please don't knock on our door. So that's where the La Baca family comes from. They had a family recipe for homemade salsa, the only kind of salsa there was in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And when the family decided to move to Los Angeles, California, around the turn of the century, they reserved a special seat in their wagon for that salsa recipe. Wow. They brought it here with them. When they got here, they decided to do something a lot of immigrants around the time and now decide to do when they get to a new place and need a way to make money, which was selling food. Also, in like 1900 Los Angeles, like what are you going to do? What job are you going to do in 1900 Los Angeles if not sell salsa?
Right. Yes. You can be William Mulholland or you can sell salsa, and there was no in between.
And you got to be. That's why William Mulholland had to bring water, because this salsa was so spicy. And that's what I'm getting. That's the big scoop.
There it is. Take it, because we all ate some of that. And
it is. Chug it.
I feel like I put my tongue on just like an oven. That's spicy food for me, baby.
I've been eating radishes to get the heat out of my mouth for the last 12 years that it took to get this water to Los Angeles. So the La Baca family decided their food of choice should be their family salsa recipe. So in 1917, they started putting their salsa in jars and selling them around town. It's crazy to think how old some of these salsa companies are. The first salsa they made was their salsa Brava, which they still make today using the same family recipe. And by all accounts, this was the first commercially jarred and sold salsa ever in the United States. It was La Victoria Salsa Brava in 1917 in Los Angeles. That's insane. What? Here's another natural history museum, Southwest Museum. First, I have a date. I have a year, and you're going to tell me it's 4 years after that and be like, yeah, it's the first one. Can you believe it's the first one?
1951. It's the first one. We'll get to me.
Yeah, nobody had jarred salsa until 1951.
Have you met Americans during the 40s?
They love their salsa.
Oh yeah, no, put salsa on my cottage cheese and milk or whatever gross stuff.
Please, can I have the Jell-O salsa and a side of scrapple? It's crazy because, as one of the articles I pointed out, sliced bread wasn't sold until 1928, so jarred salsa predates sliced bread in the United States. There were some bottled hot sauces in Massachusetts being sold as early as 1807, but La Victoria was the first Mexican-style salsa ever sold in the United States, and they became popular and grew for decades until 1941, when their top salesman, who was a German man named Henry Tanklage, of course the German guy's last name is Tank.
Of course.
They changed it from Henry Panzerlage.
He used to be Bazooka Joe, and then they changed it.
That's his American cousin, Bazooka Joe. So Henry Tanklage bought the company from the family with the intent of taking the brand national. It was known and beloved regionally, but Tanklage wanted to expand, so he loaded his trunk with salsa. Loose salsa.
Keep pouring it in.
But Henry, it's coming out of the exhaust pipe, Henry, at 9. Das Salsa.
Fraulein Autobahn.
I don't understand your language, Henry.
You're from Jersey. Why do you keep doing this?
You were born here, Henry. Why do you insist on speaking in random German words, Henry? Yeah. So he loaded his trunk with salsa and drove all around the West, getting people hooked on the salsa, which during this time, the early to mid 40s, was when a lot more white Americans were starting to become aware of Mexican food in the West of the United States. So it started becoming a hit with them. Right. Because it's a very mild salsa. Like, I don't know how it used to be, but nowadays it's like red water. I read that it was either 1941 or 1952, but in one of those 2 years, Tanklage introduced their famous red and green enchilada sauce and their taco sauce. And by 1946, they were hawking 10 different types of salsa, like green chili and red jalapeno, all made using tomatoes from right here in the Central Valley of California.
Central Valley, is that Los Angeles? I'm kidding.
I meant the Central San Fernando Valley, the great tomato fields of the Central San Fernando Valley.
Reseda.
Home of Cobra Kai?
Oh my God. I walked right into it.
I
walked right into it.
As I promised in the ad that we recorded in the middle of this, I will be talking about Cobra Kai a lot because I can't stop watching Cobra Kai. So their other huge innovation, as if being the first jarred salsa sold in the United States wasn't enough, was that in 1955, they were the first company to put a heat thermometer on their jars to show how spicy each sauce was, which is so helpful to me.
What am I getting myself into?
And I bring my own thermometer next to it to compare. They're now made by Hormel Foods and owned by Megamex Foods LLC, but to me they'll always be that little family salsa from Mexico that I've only ever seen white people eating.